Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Call this meeting to order. Time is exactly 6:30 p.m. Roll call. Myself, Fernando present. Sharice Trejo Jr. Present. Carlos Cardoso Sr. Present. Raimundo Martinez. Present. Mr. Ayala.
Present.
Mr. Javier Salinas.
Present.
Mr. Camino Arjona. Present. Ms. Norma Torres.
Present.
And no, we have to remember your name now?
Teresa Alexander.
Ms. Alexander. Miss Mrs.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander. Special board call meeting will come to order. Today is June the 14th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. The board president will lead us in the pledge of allegiance and by the Texas. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Do something for Mr. Salinas?
Yes. Heavenly Father, we come before you, mindful of glory, to give you thanks and praise. We especially thank you today, Father, for our second face-to-face meeting, our first face-to-face meeting in this boardroom. We want to thank you, dear Lord, for the courageous board that we have here, taking care of our staff all year. We also want to thank for this board getting vaccinated to make this day happen. We just ask that you continue to watch over all our students, all our parents, all our community members, and keep us safe through this pandemic, dear Lord. Thank you, dear Lord, for bringing us back together as a team. And we ask all this in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. Let's take our seats. Item number 4, awards and recognitions.
At this time, there's no awards recognitions, sir.
Number 5, superintendent's report.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, today we have great news. We have a short presentation about our PATS DHR Health Junior Clinical Research. We did have 5 students that applied, and we had the most students in the whole valley get accepted. We did make the news this week on this, so Ms. Sandra Glasses, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yes, good evening, members of the board, Mr. President, Mr. Salinas, and community. Like Mr. Salinas mentioned, we are here to give the board some very good news. As you can see from the monitor that we had 5 students who were eligible to participate in the PATS DHR Health Junior Clinical Research Internship. It is a 4-week program. And it is basically centered around giving our students the opportunity to participate in real live medical research. They're trying to promote the Research Development Center there at Doctors Hospital at Renaissance. And a total of 11 students were recruited from across the Rio Grande Valley from Region 1, and 5 out of the 11 came from Hidalgo ISD. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud of the work that Ms. Dimas has done there at Hidalgo Early College High School to promote health science programs and to be able to offer our students world-class opportunities because they are working with world-class doctors at DHR. So congratulations to the board and to the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're very proud of that, Mr. President, members of the board. Only 11 kids were chosen in the whole Red Valley, and 5 were from here. That just shows the quality of education the ISD has and the type of student we're producing here.
All
So,
right.
congratulations to the
Awesome.
board for that.
Way to
So much for
go.
the educators that make this happen.
Item number 2, update on PEBT update. I know that Mr. Trejo called me last week about this, so we have some good news. Ms. Jennifer, you want to talk a little about this? We kind of figured it out ourselves, how much money people are going to get. We did our own formula, so we won't say in case it's wrong, but it's good money.
Good evening, Mr. Board President, board members, Mr. Salinas, and community. I'm here to brief you on the community about the Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer, also known as PEBT. In May 2021, Governor Abbott received approval from the U.S. Department of Agriculture for a second round of federal PEBT benefits for families with children who have temporarily lost access to free or reduced school meals due to COVID-19 during the 2020-21 school year. PEBT provides a benefit of up to $1,200 per child for the school year. The amount of the benefit is based on the school the child attends and is determined by the number of days that the students receive remote instruction. So for this past school year, PEBT benefits can be used in the same way as a SNAP program, and so it is used to pay for groceries. PEBT is also for families with children who are certified for free or reduced price meals through the National School Lunch Program, and families with children born after August 1st, 2014, who receive SNAP benefits. Most families who receive the SNAP benefits automatically receive the PEBT benefits on their Lone Star card back in May 28. So families who receive SNAP for the first time during this past school year will have to apply for that. Also, families who have children certified for the free or reduced price meals or attended a school as defined by the community eligibility provision or provision to school and received meals at no cost during this past school year will also need to apply. HISD families already received a notification earlier this month on June the 1st on how to access the application. The application will be open from June 2nd all the way to August 13th, and application will be processed in the order they are received. After completing the application online, families eligible for the benefit amount will receive benefits on the new PEBT card, which they should receive in the mail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you.
So they will receive, the only thing is that
They need to apply. If they don't have SNAP benefits right now,
They
they
need
need
to
to apply. But if they do have SNAP benefits, they already received it
they
back
should
in
be
May.
receiving it.
It's a short 5-minute application. It's real quick.
Just looking at it.
Thank you.
This item, public comments.
Ms. Gardner, do you have any public comments today?
No, sir.
No public comments, Mr. President.
Move on. Action items, taking up consent items.
I'd like to pull number 8. We did get the agreement from the city, but it was incorrect. So we want to bring it back at a future board meeting.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to go, 8, 9, and 10.
Sorry, sir. What was that, number 7?
8, 9, and 10.
Okay, number 8's already pulled.
Yeah.
9
And 10.
and 10. Let's have the agenda there.
Okay, right, number 8, just to be clear, this is no action on this item.
No action.
That's a no action item?
Yes. We can approve the rest of the items until we get to the full items, Mr. President.
Very well. All right, I need a motion to accept the items as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Venus. A second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Trejo. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
We'll go back to number 7.
Let's return to number 7, Region 1 Educational Service Center, Sub-Hub 20.
No, it was 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10.
So you didn't, okay,
No, 7.
not number 7 then?
No.
For the record, Mr. President, we did pull 7, so if you all want to take action number 7 right now.
Motion for number 7 to.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Claire.
Martinez and Arcon.
Yes, Mr. Martinez and Mr. Arjona. Minister Trejo.
What's up,
I'm sorry, was Arjona?
For 7, it was Martinez and Arcon.
Thank you, sir. So, just for the record, this thing kind of distorts the sound for me a little bit. All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion, any nays? The ayes have it, motion carries. Okay. Go ahead, Shanice.
On number 8, we did pull it, so no action will be taken tonight. We did receive the contract from the city very late, the day that you all will get your agendas. So until the city corrects the concerns that we had, the main concern was they wanted us to pay them on their maintenance on their vehicles and the upkeep So, we're not ready to move forward until we get all that fixed between the city and us.
Sir,
Ma'am.
but how many cops are we gonna have?
It says in the contract, one supervisor and one, police officer.
In the junior high and the high school?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
always,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
So that one is pulled, mister, no action at this time.
Number 8.
The next one she pulled is number 9, 2021-22 interlocal agreement between South Texas College dual credit program. Do you have any questions, Ms.
Well, I just want you to explain.
Okay, Ms. Hunter, you want to get on the phone here and talk about the interlocal agreement with South Texas dual credit program?
Yes, sir. I apologize. Yes, members of the board and community, the MOU is an agreement that we submit with South Texas College on a yearly basis, and what it basically outlines is the requirements of what we are obligated as an IHE or an ISD actually, as a school district, to be able to agree to their terms on the number of years that we hold on to textbook adoptions that they ask of us, the qualifications of the adjunct professors that we hire as part of the dual credit program, even the buildings, we have to meet the requirements of the higher institution of higher ed, and in this case being STC. They have to approve our libraries and our library resources. They have to approve our labs, chemistry labs, biology labs, any of the courses that we offer. So that's basically a yearly agreement that we are committed to continue to meet the requirements of STC, so long as we're wanting to continue to be part of the dual credit program at South Texas College. As I reviewed it for this year, it's nothing significantly different. One of the changes that they have made, or the adjustments, actually since last year, was a result of how they're handling their online courses. In case we were to have to revert back to an online setting in case of a COVID emergency or a COVID situation. But other than that, it's a basic agreement with South Texas College that every school district that participates in the dual credit program with STC agrees to, basically.
Thank you.
Approximately how many years have we been doing this agreement with them? More or
Um,
less, you have to be exact.
Since 2005, we've been involved. Initially, our early college program, we started it off with UTPA at the time, which is now UTRGV. But probably by 2008, we've pretty much been exclusively South Texas College.
Have we had any problems with them in the years, or have they had any problems with us?
Absolutely not. They have worked with school districts, and they're an equal partner. So I think what this agreement is, it's an equal partnership. It's not something that we're agreeing to that would be totally unfair to the school district. It's just making sure that we're very clear on the expectations of how we can be offering the level of education that is equitable to that of an institution of higher education. That our standards are as high as theirs,
Thank you.
or beyond.
Ms. Ayala, you good?
Yes, I just wanted to explain for the public.
Okay.
Good, thank you for that opportunity.
Also know, Mr. President, that I attended a graduation a couple of weeks ago, and it was a big 6A, big 6A. And they only had 70 students complete an associate degree. They had a class of 779. We had 91 students, our class was 250. So, ISD is way above.
When you look at the per capita of all these large districts compared to ours, our success rate, I'm sure, will be much higher than the others.
Statewide, yes, sir.
Statewide, even locally, I think we compete out
Definitely
there with anybody
statewide.
academically. Toe to toe, I think we're the top ones. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Goss.
Okay. Yeah, I need a motion to approve,
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, Mr. Martinez, second by Mr. Trejo. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That was number 7.
That was number 9.
Number 9.
Yeah.
Number 9, I'm sorry.
Next item, Mr. President, number 10, approval of agent record for medical insurance. Here, the district, what the board wanted us to look at is a way to get on the TRS system. As a matter of fact, we just got rates, I think Friday or today on the new TRS rates, and they went up about 150 per employee. So this is going forward with a DOI. With a DOI, we did have a presentation from Ms. Shauna back there, and I was very comfortable with the presentation they made. I did conference with her last week, and I told her we'd move forward looking at the DOI so we can go out for bids for a good health insurance carrier. I did tell her, you better beat whatever rates we had last year, not the new rates we had last year. So I did tell her that, that's what I expect from her. We hired her tonight because, you know, our staff pays a lot of money. I know I probably pay the most. I know, looking at my rates for next year, we're gonna be about 1,100 just for me and my family. That's a lot of money that we have to pay, and that's the same rate for every person that has families here. So we're looking forward and finally getting out of TRS and getting these carriers to bid on it. I think the only carrier that cannot bid for us is Blue Cross Blue Shield, who currently have them. So it'll be everybody else but them to be able to bid on better pricing and better benefits for our employees. I know currently we have an HMO. I don't like it because if I get sick tonight, I can't go see my doctor. I have to go to the emergency room because it's not accepted in MAC clinics. So that's the type of stuff that we all struggle with here, like, and like we're talking about it today. Insurance companies are put us in a corner saying, well, you don't want to go to the hospital. I mean, just wait till tomorrow when it can be too late. So tonight, approval of agent is to hire Sean and her group to move forward and go out for bids and pricing on getting some better competitive, better benefits for our employees here at LYC.
What is the name of the agency or who?
Barrett.
The Barrett.
Barrett Insurance.
Barrett.
Barrett.
Barrett? Barrett Group? Very well.
And it did go over the insurance committee voted, everybody voted for it to move forward and get in this product for our employees. So we do have a real tight timeline to start September 1. So we have to move on it today. It gives us 2 extra weeks to get it up to the employees sooner. We will have 2 enrollment periods. We don't want to confuse our employees, so we'll do an enrollment period just for health insurance. And then we'll do another enrollment period later for the benefits, for the volunteer products. That way nobody's confused.
So I need a motion to approve the
Did I
agent.
answer your question, Ms. Alonso?
Motion to approve the Barrett Group as the agent of record. I have a motion by Mr. Martinez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Trejo. Mr. Arjona, I'm sorry, Mr. Arjona, I keep hearing you that way.
Yes, we're going to hate us, you all look like
I'm serious. The sound to me is coming from this angle. So this is the second time, it's not on the third one, you can give me a slap. Not a slap in the face. But is there any discussion?
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question, given the fact that there's gonna be a enrollment period for TRS and then for the voluntary products. As far as the portal, is that gonna be one together, or is it gonna be 2 separate?
On the portals?
Yes.
It's 2 different entities, sir. 2 different portals. One portal is for the voluntary product, and then the other portal will be strictly for health.
Okay, so at what point do we consolidate both? Because the last thing I want is for employees to have, to go to 2 different screens instead of just one.
Well, Shannon, what's
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Arjona, our goal is to try to work with Roger, who's here present, as well as Joe, and see if we can integrate those the following year. Unfortunately, we don't have time this year just because we're on a small timeline. That's why we want to do them back to back, and then our goal would be to help with any cost that we would incur to go ahead and integrate those with Freighties, who is your current TPA, where you have your enrollment system right now, and see if we could just put both options, TRS as well as the medical, onto the Freighties system so that it could all be one enrollment system, and then they could also have that as an active portal for them to be able to go in and see benefits later.
Okay. We have Mr. Roger here. Can you maybe,
And I have not had an opportunity to speak to him, so I certainly jumped the gun and throwing Roger out there. But we want to make that commitment that we're going to do everything we can to work with him to try to integrate to Frady's, if Frady's will do that.
would there be an issue with you, Mr. Roger? No, sir. Not at all. Okay.
The only thing is, just we have to make sure that the client understands, the employee understands that medical is for everybody, and a volunteer is a volunteer basis if they want to get it.
Yes,
And
sir.
speak Spanish and English to make sure they understand that. Very important because you put them together, it's good, you know, all in one take, but just make sure they understand, especially the support services, understand that they don't, it's up to them to go and get the voluntary products, and it's two different people taking care of them. All right? All right?
Absolutely. What we want to do is complement what they're already doing.
Yes.
And maybe even cut down a little bit of the legwork that they're doing,
Yeah.
integrate both of them, and then what you do is get higher participation on your voluntary because they're sort of forced to go in and look at that medical. And you do have a time frame with TRS. You can only enroll certain times of the year because their rates only come out at a certain time and their SWIFT system opens. So that's why we think it would be advantageous next year to be able to do those all together.
All right, Ben, are you guys set up to enroll everybody for medical insurance?
We will be for this year, yes, sir. We've already
Sean
started.
will take care of
working
all
on it.
that.
Should that happen, yes, sir.
Should do all this.
Should the vote go through this evening, we'll be prepared.
And last year, we did our enrollment virtually, most of it, but we did have a window of opportunity for those that did not have a virtual enrollment to have a face-to-face type of enrollment. So it went well. We got everybody done in, what was it, 3 days, 4 days, virtually. So we have already the platform and the system in place, so we should be okay.
Cool, thank you.
So let me ask another question. As far as new employees goes, who orientates these employees as far as insurances when they come in to the district, Who does that type of orientation? Is it our staff, or is it gonna be Mr. Roger, is it gonna be there? How is that gonna take place?
It will be our staff, so we're gonna bring down an entire team. We have committed to over 2 weeks of being here on site. So we'll not only be here on site, we'll also be virtual. So for those maybe that don't feel comfortable coming in, maybe they can't get in, maybe they've got a last minute vacation, because we will be looking at, I think that we said the second week of August. So not everybody will be back by then, we'll be able to offer it virtually. But for those people maybe that really want to sit down with somebody, that want that maybe extra understanding of the two differences between a TRS and another program, maybe want to talk about what price means to them, benefit plan, pharmacy that's important to them, we'll be able to have a one-on-one, and like I said, we've committed to 2 weeks of being here.
Right, so this is at the beginning. What about throughout the year?
And so we're here, I'm here every week. We're gonna hire an account team to be here, as well as I brought my account executive here. She'll be here once a month. So we'll be here for all of your new employee enrollment as well. And what we wanna do is just kind of create whatever that system looks like, visiting with Nancy and Guillermo on how you all want us to integrate with new enrollment.
Okay, great.
Are you guys familiar with the network of doctors around here and stuff like that?
I'm working on that, I'm being completely honest with you. Probably not as familiar. I did have this territory when I worked for Valley Baptist. I oversaw Tenet for 5 or 6 years over the whole state and spent quite a bit of time down here, but that was about 5 years ago. So I'm working at reintegrating myself and understanding the hospital systems as well.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have a motion, Mr. Martinez and second, Mr. Arjona. We have discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Okay. Action taken on instruction and student support.
Before Sandra gets started, I just want to once again welcome Sharice Alexander. You know, she's one of the Hammond attorneys that does all of North Texas. So she wanted to come down to South Texas, see how South Texas is.
Welcome to South Texas. I love the palm trees and the hospitality is great. So thank you.
Sombreros.
Yeah.
Welcome.
You'll get hotter soon.
Sandra, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Salinas, members of the board and community. First and foremost, I do want to start by taking this opportunity to thank our superintendent, Mr. Salinas, the board of trustees, and the entire community of Hidalgo ISD for their continued support this school year. Since March 13th of last school year, the world of education was turned topsy-turvy. And without the kind of leadership that Mr. Salinas has offered us and the support of our board of trustees, these last 15 months would have been almost impossible for all of us to be able to get through it at the level that we're used to performing here at Hidalgo ISD. I want to reassure you that never during those 15 months did Mr. Salinas ever compromise the targets and the goals that our school district had. We knew that it was going to be a little difficult and very different than in the past years because we would probably not have a state assessment that would be able to offer us the kind of data that we so heavily rely on in the school systems. But we knew that by trusting and by committing ourselves to what he envisioned for this school year, we knew that we were going to come out on top. And so tonight, I'm just going to show you very briefly the last or the end of year professional development that all of our teachers and staff, both professional and paraprofessional, participated these last 2 weeks. From May 31st through June 10th, our teachers and our instructional support staff, our paraprofessionals, our auxiliary staff, everyone participated in some kind of learning, which was a really great way to end the school year. And so let me get started with, again, as part of the DIP or the District Improvement Plan that we have for Hidalgo ISD, we do have one goal and objective out of many that we have, but I'm only going to be addressing the one dealing with professional development. And it reads, 100% of professional and auxiliary staff will participate in professional development and effective best practices in order to improve student achievement and job performance as measured by campus, district, and state academic performance report. And what this goal basically holds us accountable for is that for all adults that are part of Hidalgo ISD, that we are committed to learning, whether that is job-related learning or whether that is other types of professional training. And again, we're very happy to report that during these last 2 weeks, all of our staff was somehow a part of this initiative or this goal. When it comes to the professional development choices that we make for our staff members, because there's many different things that we can concentrate on, what we always try to center ourselves on is on 4 key understandings, and those include 1, implementing a guaranteed and viable curriculum which leads to increased student achievement. So we know that at the heart of what we do, we have to have a really strong academic curriculum that's going to help sort of set the script, per se, for our teachers to be able to perform at the highest level. So we work really hard at providing that strong curriculum. 2, that the assessed, written, and timed curriculum must align to increase student achievement. We have to be able to see progress to see if it's working or it's not working. And if at any point any of our data pieces tell us it's not working, then we have to respond to what the data says. Like Mr. Salinas says, the data doesn't lie. And so we're constantly keeping our finger in the pulse of that data, and so we make the adjustments as necessary. Number 3, collegiality and professionalism leads to increased student achievement. And so we strive here every day, regardless of what position or what role we have in Hidalgo ISD, to continue to work in partnership for those very specific goals that we have, which all leads to the same thing, students excelling to the next level. And then finally, number 4, implementing aligned, high-yield, engaging instructional strategies leads to increased student achievement. In just a minute, Ms. Guanzon will be presenting some results of our spring 2021 benchmarks, and you're going to see that in spite of the challenges that our teachers face day in and day out in their virtual classrooms, in spite of the struggles that our children had to endure and live through, just like everybody else who lived through this pandemic, our district was still able to have data that showed that we moved forward. I know that our biggest goals this year was to stay healthy, and again, like Mr. Salinas mentioned in the beginning of today's board meeting, we want to thank you all for supporting his decision to keep the staff at home, because we knew that this virus could be detrimental, even more so than it has already been to communities across the country and the world, but most especially here in Hidalgo ISD, where we live in a community that have extended families in our homes, have vulnerable family members, loved ones living with each other, our elderly grandparents, our extended family, and so his priority was to keep everybody safe. But because of that commitment, because we were able to stay true to sort of the humanness of what we do day in and day out, the teachers, the staff, the principals, the central office administration gave everything that they had this school year. And so the next couple of pages, I'm not going to read through every one of them, but you'll see slides or copies of the different topics that we addressed during these last 2 weeks. And it involved everything from what is the STAR end of course assessment going to look like after this year, because not only did we have to go through all of these changes as a result of COVID, but coming down the very recent pipeline, starting next year, we have changes in the state assessment, the way that it looks, the way that kids read. By 2023, they'll be testing 100% online. So because of all of those changes at the state level, we're having to pivot and adjust our game plan on how to move forward if we want to continue to perform at the levels that we want to be performing at. We talked about accountability, how that is changing and how we're missing data pieces here and there because of COVID, but how are we going to fill in those pieces of data so that we can continue to make the best informed decisions and so that we can be totally transparent with our Board of Trustees in our community. We also addressed what we need to make improvements in our curriculum for English language arts with the curriculum work that was done this year with the leadership of various people in my department, with Marta Garza, Ms. Vanessa Gruner, with teachers from across all of the grade levels, from kindergarten through 12th grade. They all pitched in on making those curricular adjustments, and we feel very confident in that game plan. And the same holds true for mathematics. We met with all of the content areas, all of the elective teachers, health teachers, fine arts teachers, PE teachers, and we shared how they play a critical role in the success of our students academically and what they have to do to make sure that they contribute to increasing reading levels and comprehension levels by what they do in their CT classroom or what they do in their PE classrooms or what they do in their health and science classrooms and so on and so forth. At the end, we did end it with giving them at least 2 days of lesson planning time because we know that time is precious to them, and we just got some really great work out of our staff. A lot of them already planned all the way into next December. So what that means is that when we start in August, we can refine the plans that we worked on these last 2 weeks and go deeper into how we really want the school year to go well. And so for that, that'll be to be continued back in August when I report back to you on our professional development schedule for the fall. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'll gladly answer.
Are there any indicators that our students have fallen behind due to the COVID situation?
Yes, sir. Actually, we did, and we have been part of the Resilient School Support System at TEA. We actually volunteered for more work last spring semester so that we could, again, make sure that we were at the top of our game to make sure that we were looking at that data very closely, because we did anticipate that by the pure nature of removing the student from in front of the teacher, we were going to feel the effects of that. And so yes, the data shows that mostly, and it's consistent to what the state data is telling us and consistent to what the national data is telling us, which is the elementary student is the one that perhaps experienced the most learning loss. And so as part of the ESSER 3 plan that we are putting together to submit to TEA, we will be addressing those learning gaps at all grade levels, but we are aware of the additional supports that we're going to have to provide our elementary students especially, only because they're not as independent as maybe your secondary student. We found actually, and you'll probably see from the reports that you have from Ms. Guanzon is going to be presenting, that at the junior high and high school, we actually saw more gains. And they're just more of an independent learner than our little ones. It's very hard to have a kindergartner, a first grader, a second grader, if they don't have that parental support or an adult there guiding their learning. And one thing, when we met as a district with all of our staff, one thing that we said that we learned, and I think the whole nation and hopefully the whole world learned about education, is that you can never remove the human element from education. That teacher is the most important factor in learning. And so hopefully society has a better appreciation of educators, of how important it is, because you can be a loving parent and you can be there sitting next to them and it's still not the same. And so our teachers are coming back with the sense of pride of how important they are, not only to the local community, but to the community at large, to the educational community. Because we've all learned that, hey, that teacher is just the most important person there.
Yes, it is.
And
Thank
so
you much.
we hope to, we're excited about bringing our kids back. We have our summer school program that's going on right now, some of it face-to-face, and we already see signs of just great things to come.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, next we have our spring 2021 accountability simulation results. We're just going to show what we would have received as a grade if we have done everything. And I think that we'll be happy that we would have been an A again for the 4th year in a row. With 90 points.
Good evening, Mr. Board President, board members, Mr. Salinas, colleagues, and community members. This is the second year that districts all over Texas have not received any letter grade for accountability because of the pandemic. So parents have their choice whether to send their kids to test for STAR, but for this year, since a lot of parents opted not to send their kids to test for STAR, this simulation report is the best way or alternative way to measure growth instead of STAR results. This is Domain 1, Student Achievement. This is a breakdown of Benchmark 2 from 3rd grade to high school, and we received a score of a 51. This slide shows that even with the challenges of virtual instruction, our campuses showed gains in our local assessment, and we see a 10 points growth from 2019. The way the state award the letter grade is to take into consideration the STAR component, the CCMR, and the graduation rate, and we give credit to all our dual credit students who took the dual credit courses, and also the industrial-based certifications, which we have a lot. So we got an A for student achievement. For Domain 2, normally Hidalgo uses Part B. So for our local assessment, which is Benchmark 2, we garnered a score of a B for relative performance. This is a 3-year comparison data for Domain 2 school progress. And then Domain 3 for closing the gaps. We have 5 student groups that we monitor for closing the gaps. It's for math and reading, and we met all 5 targets for all 5 student groups, which are the all students, Hispanics, economically disadvantaged, the current ELS, and also the special ed students. This is for the reading. Closing the gaps, we also monitor we met all 5 student target groups, but if you look at the red there, we're currently monitoring the current ELS, and it's part of the district improvement plan as well as the campus improvement plan. This is closing the gaps at a glance. And if you look at this, the score from 2019, we got an 86, and then we went to an 89, and for this year we got a 92, which despite all the challenges that we faced this year, we've still improved as a district. Do you have any questions?
That's excellent news.
Lord, I just want to thank all the parents, the kids, especially the kiddos, the community. It has been a tough 15 months. I know that our team has not slowed down. We really haven't had a break in 15 months. So we're all looking forward to the July end date so we can take about 10 days off finally. And I already told them for 10 days I'm turning off my phone. I don't want to hear none of their voices for 10 days. Because we've been at it 15 months. It's been hard. And I want to thank this board for supporting all the decisions that I've made, because at the end our goal was 2 things: safety of students, safety of staff. We did have 4 staff members pass away of COVID. Very sad for that YSD. I I got COVID and I was super protected and I still got it, and it was a bad 23 days, and I want to thank the board at that time for all the good wishes and the prayers you would send me during that time that I was sick. But the kids here are heroes and working hard at home. It's not easy. It's not easy. As Sandra says, the most important person in front of those kids are the teachers. And nobody can replace a teacher. I mean, I'm an educator, and it's so hard as an educator to sit with my daughter and try to do the work, because I get home so tired from being at work all day here, and then to truly get at the house. I know Friday I stayed up till 11:59 doing her science homework, because Edinburgh's still in school, and she had to submit grades by midnight to be able to have her grades posted for this week. Yeah, they're done, thank God, because it's not easy being a daddy and homework, and it's not the same as when we went to school. I know some of y'all talking to you that have kids on this board, you know, it's hard. It's super hard. The work that is, even for a third grader, first grader, you're like, oh my God. But thanks to the board for all that you did in supporting our safety goals and our educational goals this year. And like I said, we can't wait till that July date in about 3 weeks, where we're finally get to turn everything off for about 10 to 12 days and come back, hopefully re-energized, ready to get the year started. So I will turn on my phone for about 10 days, just so, okay. Send me a smoke signal or something.
I just want to say, sir, great job, man. I know when we started this year with the computers, yeah, when you go back, because it was recorded, it's still on Facebook, I'm sorry, on YouTube. And you go back and all the uncertainty, and we didn't even know, we were a week away from starting school, we didn't know where we were going to be at, and there was a lot of chaos, and people started to talk, and a lot of uncertainty. We understand, because I went through it with my kids too, but to see this, I wish we were public. I wish we were on Zoom right now, so everybody could see what the result of everybody working together. And you have that you waking up at 5 and calling the employees at 5 in the morning to see how they're doing, and they're ready. It's awesome to see that. You know what I mean? Because we were very uncertain, and we were attacked, and we didn't know how to respond at first, because we didn't have the computers. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know, and you came through, and it was rough. But at the end of the day, we just did that great. And now we saw, and I think as board members that have kids in the school district, we saw teachers firsthand how they were working, the patience, waking kids up, doing a Pacheco. I call it doing a Pacheco because she used to go wake up kids at their houses, and they would just call to wake up, and it was amazing to see that. Every time I saw them, I just saw the patience of each teacher with each kid, and they got to know. I always preach that: get to know your kid individually. Each kid's different, like a parent with a kid, a teacher with a student. And I think this showed each kid is different. You got to see a little bit of the problems at home, where they live at, and what they could afford. As a teacher, you're looking back at the screen, and it's different. It's a phone. Some people just have phones. Some people have one computer for all 3 kids that got together, and they know something for one class. So to see this, it's just amazing. I want to think, and you went through Nepacabala, you went through COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, whoa. And then you went through COVID, and you're the one leading the ship. And it's hard, you know what I mean? To come back because you're afraid, because you have kids at home, and I understand. And there's people calling you out, and people calling the board members out, and we just stayed true to our kids, and it's awesome to see the result of that. So I want to thank you, sir. And every other group, Mr. Cavazos and Coach Guerra, keeping everything going. Everybody here, just awesome to see. That's an awesome grade, man. We never had that before when we were alive. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see it. So thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you all the staff, the administrator, Mr. Guerra, Mr. Teco, Nancy, everybody, for the great work that you guys did here. And I work in a city here close by, And when we were hit with this uncertainty, like Mr. Martinez was saying, was we were all scrambling as to what is it that we're gonna be doing to protect ourselves on this virus that was unknown to all of us. And one of the first things that I did was pick up the phone and ask this guy here on my left, asking, what are you guys doing at the school that I can mimic over here at the city? Because just like you guys provide a service to the students, we provide a service to the whole community. And we were always open for services. There were no masks anywhere. We called so many different places. I begged this guy, I need at least 3,000 masks, please sell them to me because it doesn't matter the cost. So he came through and he gave us, he sold us a couple boxes, if I'm not mistaken. But if it wasn't for Mr. Salinas here doing the work, our staff at the city would not be protected with a mandated mask. But also, you know, one of the things that you guys might know, some of your administrators that almost on a weekly basis, every other day, we're having meetings at the county level, because we always want to stay national, you know, here within our communities. And the judge, Cortez, will always say, Javier ya me dijo eso. I said, what is Javier? We don't know who Javier was. And it was as far as city managers getting together. Right before that, it was the school district with the superintendents. So this guy were having 2-3 meetings a day, and Cortez would always say, Javier ya dijo, Javier came up with this great idea, not knowing it was this guy. You know, and that felt like Mr. Martinez was saying, it felt so good to know that our community, our district, our kids were estaban bien protegidos, you know, they had good, you guys had good ideas. So I want to thank this guy because at the couple of weeks ago when we had that dinner, you know, everybody got the accolades, the recognitions, the awards and all that. But we didn't have anything from Mr. Javier Salinas for having done what he did for so many months. And yes, he went to COVID, quedó un poquito trastornado, ¿verdad?
Ya estaba así, ya estaba así.
I want to thank you guys for supporting him when he was out of COVID. You guys stepped it up like a true leader. This is the leader, but you guys are not the followers. You guys are also leaders, and maybe the word is co-leaders. When he was out, you guys stepped up to the plate, and you guys did tremendous. Everybody here, so it took a total combination of a total team effort. But once again, guys, I want to thank you all, obviously, but I want to thank this guy for having done what he did over the span of this 13, 14, 15 months. Thank you, really thank you for what you did and stepping it up to the plate. It wasn't PSGA that was being called out, or your district, Edinburgh, or the La Joyas or the Missions. It was Hidalgo at all times being called out. Hidalgo is doing this and others doing that. You guys didn't want to call the district to see what is it that they're working on, implementing. And not only that, but the campuses, the facilities, nunca se cayeron. They were always impeccable, beautiful, not like other districts. And I'm not trying to dog anybody, but that's just the way it is. So once again, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm moved. I'm not gonna say anything because I think you gentlemen touched on everything that you did also. You know, HISD was the trendsetter during this pandemic. We were ahead of everything because of your hard work. And the greatest testament is during the time that, you know, he was inflicted with this horrible virus that took the lives of so many. You know, now we can say we know we have a great leader because you guys stepped in and knew exactly what to do. You knew how to handle it, you knew how to work it. And that's a testament to his great leadership. A great leader is only as good as the people under him that help. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, appreciate that.
Another motion here, so let's move on to number.
Letter C, we
Just for
have
the
a
record, we feel the same way. Sorry, I have to say, we feel the same way.
Yeah.
We thank him for his leadership.
Nice.
Yeah.
And there is so much we could say as well, sir, but I know
But
this is
it's our
not our
meeting.
platform. It's not our platform to say.
This is history. This is part of history. We went through a historical, difficult period for the entire world. So make your notes, remember your stories, pass them on to the young educators that are out there, that are coming in, that haven't, you know, witnessed this yet. To God, please, Lord, don't let us ever witness this again. But to go through what we went through, everybody, pulled together, saw us through this. It's history in the making. Never has this happened before, that, or in recent history. But, you all handled it like champions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we have the Sensia program update from Ms. Juanzo.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Salinas, community members. I am here to share with you the dyslexia screening report. I know the one on the screen looks different, but I just wanted to make the data, it's exactly the same data on your flyer. I just wanted to make it prettier.
Thank you for the effort, man.
Very good, man. So, we've administered the mandated dyslexia screeners to all second and first grade students in January, and for all kinder this May. So we have the numbers there. Okay. Screening data were shared with parents. They were informed on the next steps and the strategies or interventions that's going to happen after they've identified the students who are at risk. And some students were referred for further evaluation by the 504 committee. And for those students that were identified with dyslexia, they were provided services. They were also coded as part of TEA's mandate. They were all coded the dyslexia risk codes for kinder to first grade. And dyslexia services are also coded to all students who have dyslexia based on the services that they receive for this year, depending on their IAP or IEP. And that concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Action taken on finance, human resources and operations, section 9.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, we are recommending a 2-year extension for the Depository Loans National Bank. I know that having a local bank matters. It really does. During the cold, the winter freeze, I didn't even tell y'all because I knew that we were going to fix it. But all the systems were down from the bank. Our systems were down. We had to pay our bi-weeklies, and only because we do have a local bank, we were able to run checks because they had a backup system with generators and all that, and so did we. And so because we're local, we got to do it. Our previous bank is international. They would have done it for our bi-weekly, so Nancy and I sweated it for a few days. I said, should I report the report or not? I'm not, because I knew we were going to figure it out and fix it before I had to tell you all anything, so thanks, thank you. So we're recommending a 2-year extension with this bank.
All right.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
Thank you again for the great job, Ms. Sanchez and Mr. Salinas.
I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Yes. Who said second?
Mr.
Okay,
Clerk.
I want to make sure. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. Section B.
Members of the board, I think everybody in the school district has taken that cybersecurity training, and this is just an acknowledgement form that needs to be sent to TEA, so we need approval of this form. Turn it to TEA that we all got cyber training.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Ms. Torres.
Ms. Torres
And who was second?
Martinez.
Trejo.
Your form of Martinez.
Martinez.
Okay.
That's all right.
We need a vote? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries.
Yes, members, Mr. President, members of the board, on item C, we did talk about this last time, that we had just got out for voluntary products, so we all had agreed just to go 1 more year extension. At the end of next year, we'll go out for bids on this product. But we had talked about this as a board, and we agreed to just go 1 more year, and then we'll go out for bids. So my recommendation is to approve this item.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Martinez,
Second.
second by Mr. Trejo. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
I have a question though.
We have a question.
During the letter that you received from Mr. Rodriguez, it says, therefore, the carriers agreed to a short-term agreement to allow the district to remain in compliance. What exactly does that mean?
I know that after I talked to the board, he can talk if he wants, but we called the carriers and they will honor the rates. And they said yes for one more year.
Okay. As far as the rate goes, do we even approach or make an effort to reach out to the carriers so maybe we can get a little bit of a better rate?
Good evening, Board President Gatsa and Superintendent Salinas and honorable members of the Board of Trustees. For the record, I'm Roger Gatsa, I'm your consultant, and benefit consultant. And the question you ask is, can we reach out? The rates are set by the state, Mr. Olivia. So whenever they quote a rate like that, it's contingent upon the acceptance of the benefit levels that you accept. So basically, if you look at the bottom of each of the, I'm sorry, not on my form, but on their forms, when they submit an application, they have an ID number at the bottom. That's typically, they have been approved by the state and the rates have been approved that way, and the compensation is tied into that rate. So they have different rate forms, but to answer your question, we didn't reach out to them because they were honoring the extension of an agreement that we had done last year. So that's all they're doing.
So even if it was to have been reached out, there would have been no negotiation, any
That is correct, yes, sir.
Oh.
Now, next year, of course, as Superintendent Salinas stated, when we go back out, certainly it's going to be something that you want to be able to convey on the RFP level, so that when they respond, they can give us the rate that we want. But they're honoring last year's commitment, which was the short-term agreement for the compliance, as Mr. Salinas said, is for the internal revenue adoption form that we have.
Right, and this was due because of COVID, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
And the reason I'm asking that is because I'm looking at the vision and then looking at the dental plan. I think these providers do not have any pocket expenses because of the fact that nobody will visit these doctors.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to
So some of these
look at-
things I was hoping that we could take more to our side instead of just doing another extension.
I think what you're going to see is, the one thing is the rates are favorable compared to what we had previously. However, next year, as we go back out to bid, they want to take a 2-year history. And you're gonna have 2 favorable years, particularly because of COVID, as you mentioned. And in the previous year, because we were very competitive last year, and some of the benefits you selected are very competitive. So you're gonna see more competition out there, if I can say it that way, because your losses are a lot lower.
And I know, Mr. Juana, ever since I got here, we've had a lot of people interested in bidding here at HISD. I think the last time we went out, we had about 27 people submit. Never seen that before here, so.
It's always very positive.
It's always, this district actually attracts a lot of proposals, more so than a lot of other districts.
Any further discussion? I have a motion by Mr. Martinez, a second by Mr. Trejo, calling for vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I know we're ready for closed session, but if it'd be okay with the board, I can do a closed session in here. That way we can, and if the cabinet and administration can help us bring the food to the board, that way we can eat in here. Mr. Guerra, I need you to cover some items for executive, so you can stay in here.
All right, I need a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, who did first?
Ms. Lopez and Martinez.
Martinez. The time is 7:27. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries.